Good morning, everyone. Thank you so much for joining us on this. Well, it's windy and rainy here. Hopefully, you guys have got a little bit better weather than myself. Today, I do have a very esteemed guest with me, Darren Sharp from AWS. So, just while I share my screen, I wonder whether potentially, Darren, you could just give a little brief intro into yourself there. I don't
Yeah,
want to. I
sure.
don't want to undersell you.
Bless you. Thanks, Grace, and thanks for having me on the webinar this morning. So, hi everybody. My name is Darren Sharp. I'm a channel business development manager with AWS Marketplace. So, here to tack on the end of Grace's presentation today to talk to you a little bit about procurement transformation and deployment transformation through the tool that's AWS Marketplace. There you go. There's a very long-winded introduction, Grace. Hope that's okay.
No, that was great. Not long-winded at all. So, my name's Grace Mayer. If you haven't met before as well, I head up our support and pre-sales department over here at Somerford Associates. And today we're here to talk a little bit more about Splunk Cloud and AWS Marketplace, a little bit about how Splunk can obviously be used in cloud and on cloud deployments, and also a little bit around how AWS can help you with your procurement transformation and obviously getting a much quicker, fast time to deployment. So hopefully you're in the right place. So just to briefly go over, potentially why cloud in your business might be a good fit. Now, obviously nowadays, and I think due to COVID, there has been a very rapid increase in apps and data moving to the cloud. Now, cloud data can remain in the cloud if you are using a cloud monitoring solution. And Splunk can actually provide you a kind of holistic view over both your on-premise and, of course, all of your different cloud environments there. Now, of course, you might also have a desire to consume Splunk that you already have potentially now on premise as a SaaS service so that you don't actually have to deal with all of those administrative tasks or just managing the hardware that sits behind it. Now, being on support, we do get a lot of the calls for help, and most of the time it is to do with either hardware problems or potentially, assistance with upgrades or patching. And that can obviously just be eradicated by using Splunk Cloud or Splunk as a service. Now, there's not only just standard Splunk Cloud, we've got a whole host of Splunk Cloud apps and, of course, AWS integrations. We also run enterprise security and IT service intelligence in cloud, and those are both available as a separate search head. So you do get the same functionality as you would get on-prem in the cloud there. So Splunk Cloud is literally all the features of Splunk Enterprise with all the benefits of SaaS. You don't lose anything by going cloud. Essentially, if anything, you get more for your money. Now, this is because we do all of that hard work at the beginning. We do all the hardware setup. We set up all the storage for your attention requirements. We scale it depending on the size of your license and the type of searching and usage that you're doing. And we also constantly monitor that stack to make sure that everything is running as it should be. There's no strange things going on, there's no errors, there's no problems with concurrent searching. And we actually actively work with you in the team to make sure that the instance is basically as kind of robust and easy to use, as possible. Now, this means that all you guys have to do is the fun stuff. So you just forward your data in. We actually deliver you out a pre-written package to deploy forwarders from, which reduces the time to deploy forwarders dramatically, especially if you are using something like Ansible or Puppet to deploy them to. You can obviously use any of the other ways to get data in with Splunk. There's no limit there in terms of cloud and on-premise, so you can still use things like REST APIs, HTTP event collectors, Splunk Stream, you name it, the functionality is there. And of course, we can use all of the other great AWS functions such as Lambda, Kinesis, Firehose, or even just doing something like monitoring an S3 bucket. Now, this means that you can search and monitor on your data pretty much immediately. And of course, you can get value fast. And I think this is the real focus for this webinar, and obviously what a lot of people are looking for from any solution that they're looking to employ right now, is that it can be deployed quickly, simply, and really deliver you fast time to value without having to go through, loads of professional services, without having to get, 5 or 6 different consultants in the office, because right now it's just so difficult to, that actually being able to just kind of click a button and have everything set up for you is obviously a lot easier and a lot faster. So the main 4 value drivers for the reasons why you might choose Splunk Cloud over an on-premise installation is, of course, the instantness of it. It is pretty much deliverable within 48 hours. So you can be rest assured that it's going to be very quick in terms of you kind of signing off and then actually getting that instance physically in your hands ready to use. It's secure, and I will go through all of the different security standards that we have gone through a little bit later, just so that you can be sure that, of course, when you're putting your data in a cloud environment, you really have to make sure that that data is, held with the strongest lock and key, so to speak. We have a 100% uptime SLA, which means that you can be sure that we will be reliable and consistently available. You'll have no outages, no downtime. And in the history of Splunk Cloud, I haven't noticed any downtime in terms of the actual environments themselves. And I've been working with Splunk Cloud since it came out. So you can rest assured. And we also do support hybrid searching as well. And I'll go through a little bit later on the ways in which we can support hybrid searching if you are a customer who's currently using an on-premise license, or maybe you actually have a perpetual license there. You can still make use of that license and still get that great value from your on-premise deployment. It doesn't have to just go to waste, but you can then also get the additional kind of power and the new features from Splunk Cloud as well. Now, Splunk in the cloud instance can go literally from POC to production. There's no need to spin them down or do anything like that, which means that obviously if you are doing a proof of concept currently, or if you're looking to do one in the future, it can be very, very quick and easy to actually roll that into a prod instance. And sometimes that's the real kind of bugbear. It can be that, it's very quick and easy to set something up as a POC, but then when you're looking to use it in production, because you may want things like high availability or disaster recovery inbuilt, it means that it can't just be automatically rolled in production. However, with Splunk Cloud, we deliver the same stacks, both in POC and prod, so you will see no difference, and you'll get the full kind of look and feel of Splunk Cloud in the POC, and obviously roll that into production very, very quickly. Now, I always say that Splunk Cloud has more attestations than you can shake a stick at. So we've got SOC 2 Type 2, ISO 27001, FedRAMP, CSA Star, which obviously are more American-based, but pretty much you name it, we've been attested to it. Now, we encrypt your data in transit always, so you can be sure that there's going to be no problems in terms of anybody being able to collect events while that data is being sent out of your environment into Splunk Cloud. You can also optionally encrypt your data at rest as well on the Splunk Cloud instance. So you can also have that there encrypted on the back end. Each customer does have a dedicated cloud environment, so there's no chance of that noisy neighbor type of instance. You have a full VPC to yourselves, and each Splunk Cloud runs inside of that VPC. Now, we deliver 100% uptime by really focusing on a reliable infrastructure. So we cluster you across multiple AWS availability zones, and you can have these located wherever you choose. So if you are a UK or European-based company and you would like your data to stay there, obviously you can choose places like Frankfurt and Cork to have yourself split across there. We obviously cluster your search heads and your indexes, so we maintain high availability both at the single site and the multi-site level. And of course, you have a full dedicated environment inside of your VPC, which is always fully monitored with using Splunk. So we're essentially splunking your Splunk all the time to make sure that everything is running as it should be, and also to raise any kind of alarm bells before they turn into a problem. So essentially, for example, if there's some problems with memory utilization or CPU, we can actually alleviate these before you start seeing it as an impact to your searching or to your use of Splunk Cloud. Now, Splunk Cloud can be used in a hybrid manner, and this is where you've got either indexes or search heads on premise that are obviously going into Splunk Cloud indexes and search heads as well. The most common functionality of this is to have the Splunk Cloud search heads searching both the on-premise indexes and your Splunk Cloud indexes. So that means that if you do have any historical data, you know that you're not going to lose it, you can still search on it, and obviously any new data can be sent up into Splunk Cloud. That's always the easiest way to maintain that high availability and obviously the fidelity of your data without having to do massive kind of data dumps between on-premise and cloud instances there. It also means that you can get set up a lot quicker because transferring data can take a while. So this means that you don't have to worry about, any transmission failures or, anything can happen when you're moving data. It's always kind of that nail-biting experience to watch it go. So this can give you a single pane of glass visibility across both your on-premise and your cloud instances without any latency, and of course without the data having to move from where it resides. So on-premise data can stay within your on-premise instance, whereas Splunk Cloud data, AWS data, or other cloud application data can be fed straight into cloud. Now, Splunk Cloud is available worldwide. We're pretty much available in every single availability zone that's offered by AWS. So you can obviously choose where you would like, and you can obviously make sure that your data resides wherever you want it to. We are literally using Splunk Cloud now across every single industry and vertical you may imagine. Public sector, we have some of the largest kind of US government functions using Splunk Cloud, as well as obviously massive healthcare, both private and public, using Splunk Cloud now. Some massive retailers that I'll go on to later, and of course, your standard financial services businesses, your banking, and also insurance there. We've had everybody from startups, the one-man band consultants who are doing everything themselves, who just want to alleviate some kind of administration from themselves, right the way through to global enterprises who just want something that's easy and quick that their users can use straight away without actually having to get them to set it up and go through all of that, training or professional services ahead of time. The largest stack currently running inside of Splunk Cloud is around about 12 terabytes of ingestion per day. And we start from just 5 gig. So you can see there the breadth of deployment is massive. And you can be sure that we can support you on your journey, whether or not you are at a 5 gig level or whether you're at multi-terabyte ingestions per day. Now, here are some of the businesses that are currently using Splunk Cloud, people like Gatwick Airport, Tesco, 1-800-Flowers.com. I always love them. They have a great use case. And also, some of the biggest kind of IT brands like Sophos. And I always think, whenever you see another vendor using a product like this, it really shows how actually, well, the proof is in the pudding, so to speak. And you can see here that pretty much they all have their own use cases, whether it's from security, business analytics, monitoring IoT, even fraud or standard IT operations monitoring. So you can literally never worry about, oh, in Splunk Cloud, I might not be able to do my IoT monitoring. We have previous customers who have been using it for that with no problem, no latency, and being able to get that data in immediately. Pretty much cloud in this instance is your advantage because you can get set up. As I've said, you're probably bored of me telling you how quick we can deploy, but it also means that you don't need to have any in-house expertise. And a lot of time, if you're not a current Splunk customer, that can be a real kind of fear because it's a massive amount of information to take on board. And obviously, it's also that kind of inner fear of, oh goodness, if something goes wrong, this is, all my responsibility to fix. So it just gives you that little bit more of a safety blanket. And it means that, Splunk Cloud often has a much lower total cost of ownership than deploying in-house as well when you factor in those administrative costs, and also, maybe the cost of hardware as well. So I'm just going to do a very brief demo of Splunk here, just so that you can actually see it. And then I'm going to hand over to Darren to speak about a little bit more about how AWS and cloud transformation can really help you in terms of your procurement and your deployment transformation as well. So let me jump into my Splunk instance here in true Blue Peter style. This is one that I made earlier. And what I'm going to do is just take you through a few different use cases here inside of Splunk. And this is actually running on a cloud instance here, so you're actually seeing a live cloud instance. So if you haven't seen Splunk Search before, let me just jump into the search bar. Now, I often like to refer to this as Google for your data, and you may have heard that from other people if you've ever spoken to anybody about Splunk before, because it literally is a little bit like that. So in here, I'm just going to search in my demo index. I can search in here for things like error or a fail, and I'm just going to put an asterisk there, which is our wildcard. And it's going to pull back things like failed, failure, fails, etc. And now I can see there's a whole host of different logs here over the past 60 minutes, about just shy of 3,000 events. And these are from over 100 different hosts. So you can really see that we're getting this full holistic picture of errors and failures going on across both on-premise devices. Mint collectors here are from mobile apps, coming from just standard network data here. Pretty much you name it, we've got it coming in here. So you can see Windows event logs, Unix logs here, some different messaging logs coming from our mobile apps, and even stuff coming from WebSphere here as well. Now, I can use the time range picker to search in real time. And when we talk about real time, it pretty much is, as real time as you can get. As soon as the data is available in Splunk, you're able to search it. And obviously with Splunk Cloud, that does depend sometimes on your bandwidth, etc. But often it can be as kind of low as a few seconds or even less than that. Now, I want to just limit this down. I'm just going to look at some Windows event logs, just because normally in every environment, there's something going on there. So here we can see that mainly these are failed logon that have happened here, and we can see that they're mainly for username bad or bad password. But say maybe I wanted to notice if there's any particular users that are doing this all the time. I can use these fields down the left-hand side to help me isolate where that's happening. So I can see that there's some source network addresses, so maybe I want to see where they're coming in from. And I can also see that there's a few fields here called user and workstation name. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to really quickly make a little table, and I'm just going to count by the user. And let's do the workstation name. Why not? Workstation name. If I could type, you can excuse me as it's Monday morning. Now I'm just going to jump into my visualization and then just use a trellis here. So now I'm able to see where people are failing to log on without actually having to write too much search. We could even put even less than this. I could use another field called action here, which is actually highlighted for us, and rather than using error or fail, but since we were using that constraint already, might as well stick with it. So here we've got the failed logons for these users. These are all the users that are failing to log on inside of our environment. And I can also see where they're trying to log in from, so what workstation name. And we can see here that there are a few users failing to log in several times from workstations. And most of the workstations don't look like necessarily their home workstation. So we can see that Jerry L is trying to sign in here to his workstation, but here we've also got another user, very similar username, trying to sign into a couple of others. And then of course, we've got this guy over here trying to sign into Kaiser's, and I'm not sure how to pronounce that there, but trying to sign into this one, and probably the highest amount, 158 times there. So definitely looks like potentially there could be something untoward going on, potentially something like a brute force access attempt. Or it could be that these guys are part of our IT team. They often deploy agents or clients out to workstations, and maybe they just forgot that they were signed in as their original user. The client got deployed out under that particular name, has been using that to run, but then they've gone ahead and changed their password potentially, haven't changed it on that native application. So every time it tries to run, it might be failing to authenticate there. Just trying to think about, non-security focused reasons as well. Now, I could maybe run this as a report, get a daily roundup or a weekly roundup, or I could actually place an alert on this and get alerted in real time for when maybe, the number of results is greater than, well, seeing as they're signing in like 158 times in an hour, let's go with 150 to be worried about it. Obviously, in a normal environment, I probably expect that to be a lot less, but seeing as our demo environment seems to be very busy this morning, let's go with that. Now, I can place different triggers on this alert here, so I can see things like, do I want to send it to an email? Do I want it to actually raise a service desk ticket for me? Or I can get it to run a script or even just log an event about when it's run. Now, if I did want to save this, maybe to something that I can just constantly monitor, maybe this is something, we're a little bit concerned about, but maybe don't want to raise the alarm bell yet. I could make this a dashboard panel. And once we start building up panels together, we get something that looks a little bit like this here. And when it runs, there we go. So this type of view is a very high level view over many different areas here. Now, of course, this could be looking at both your on-premise infrastructure, your cloud infrastructure, you name it, we can index it. I always say that I've been working with Splunk for nearly 6 years now, and I've never had to say no to a data input. We've always found a way. So I always say, where there's a will, there's a way to get data into Splunk from any disparate location, trust me. So up at the top left here, we can see our IT operations view, and we can see actually our transactions that are going on our website here. And we can see how that duration is going between our database, our app server, and then up to our web server there. And we can obviously see very quickly that we have some problems going on in terms of our SLA, because this red line here is our SLA, and we are far above it there. There's no surprise, judging from those strange logins we were seeing, that we're getting some security alerts being pumped out. Now, this is actually using something called Security Essentials, which is a free Splunk app. And if you would like to know more about it or see a demo of it, just give me a shout and more than happy to walk you through it. But essentially, it's a way of you selecting almost from like a menu searches that you would like to implement for certain use cases, and then you can kind of choose the ones that you want. It's more like a kind of starter for 10 for security. Now, if you do have a full SIEM implementation, either of Splunk Enterprise Security or another SIEM tool, we can pull in those alerts. So you can obviously see if there is any potential correlation between events that you're seeing inside of your infrastructure and obviously a potentially quarantined security event. Here across our application delivery, we can also see requests and latencies by the app version. And of course, for our business analytics monitoring, we're looking at our trending in terms of how much money we're making. And also, just to finish off on some IoT, we're here seeing the current temperature, nice and toasty in there, and also the power utilization going on inside of our server room there. So I'm just going to jump into a couple of these different dashboards just to show you what they look like under the hood and the ways that we can actually drill down. So this could be something to deliver out to a team leader, a manager, or even, a head of department, depending on how involved they are. And then if you are, working on that system every day, then you can use these kind of drill down style views to get a better look at what's going on kind of under the hood there. So here is a bit of a more kind of in-depth look at our IT operations. And here we're able to see our hardware status, our SLAs for our services here, and of course our applications at an app level as well. And very quickly here, we can see that our database is not looking good. Now I can click through here and get some more specific information on the database itself. And the top query times that we have here are looking like some pretty strange ones, selecting everything from the HR employee info database, and of course selecting the passwords from all of our system users, so looking for system admins then I would assume. So definitely something strange going on, and coupled with those high excessive failed logins or those high amounts of failed logins, there's definitely something untoward probably going on here. Just to double check if there's any effect on the physical storage or CPU of the servers, and very quickly we can see that there definitely is. And no surprise that based on these top query times, the load on our MySQL servers is extremely high. I can also take a look at how this is affecting our storage. And again, database storage getting hammered. No surprise there. Now let me just jump into our security view and let's have a look at our security posture because pretty much we can be sure now that this might be a security related event. Now here we can see a better look at our authentication activity, our notable events, our network activity, and this can be across both cloud infrastructure, so network activity happening in your VPC, or potentially if you're using Azure or GCP, what's going on in there. Um, or we can see down here, what's going on inside of our on-premise environments. And here are some of those searches that I mentioned earlier that we've got running from Security Essentials. And we can see here SQL injection attacks being detected. That is pretty much no surprise based off those strange queries being sent. And some high-level brute force access being detected as well. So it does look like potentially we were definitely seeing some brute force behavior going on inside of those Windows authentications there. Now, what's great is that Splunk also has automatic geolocation as well. So this can show you both across, where your VPCs are in terms of the AWS availability zones, or it could be, where people are physically logging in from, or where your workstations are geographically. If you are, especially now, spread across the country, if people are working from home, you can see where those threats are coming in from, just in case somebody's, got an infected Mac or something like that at home, and that's obviously spawning off processes into your on-premise environment. Now I'm just going to have a look at where this brute force access behavior has come from, and you can see the map to the right here is changing dynamically, and we can see that they're pretty much happening from a lot of different places here. High levels from Germany there looks like, and also quite a lot from North Korea there. So definitely doesn't look like we're friends there. So I could either, potentially get the security teams involved. I could raise a ticket for this. I could obviously start an investigation, and then obviously see where this is coming from and prevent it there. Now, I don't want to take up too much of the time here. I'm aware that I've been talking for a long time, but I just wanted to finish off on something which is really cool in terms of if you are looking to do any on-premise monitoring. Now, there is also a version of this for Splunk Cloud, especially if you are using AWS. The Splunk app for AWS, bleh, if I put my teeth in, it's an amazing application which is completely free of charge, which has very in-depth reports, dashboards, and alerts for your AWS monitoring. We also have apps for GCP and Azure as well. But as we are technology partnered with AWS, we do get a lot better views into your billing activity even, or even getting a full topology of all of your VPCs, the machines that live within that, and also any unused instances or even unused storage there, which can always be a very costly thing. Now, just in case you are still running any on-premise infrastructure as well, of course, we can have a look at how your servers are performing in general. Here we're looking at the performance, the power utilization. And then we're here seeing the cooling unit status, the water capacity of those cooling units there, and also the room temperature, which we saw on our executive dashboard earlier. Splunk's visualizations are not just limited to what's included kind of out of the box. And here you can see that we've made a completely custom visualization of our server room. And here we can see that one particular rack is very, very warm here. And I happen to know that MySQL 2 lives in that particular one. So there's no surprise that based on that high load, we're definitely seeing some heat being kicked out there. Now, I've also got the machine learning toolkit running here, which is showing the power utilization by rack. And it's actually running some algorithms there to notice any anomalies that are going on in terms of that power utilization. And here we can see that in rack 2, these particular devices are using a much higher power usage than anybody else. And we can see that over time as well when that started to creep up. So really useful and one of our customers definitely saved a massive amount of money in terms of making sure that their power and their cooling units were either not running when they didn't need to be, or looking at any power utilization anomalies to actually rectify those and make sure that everything was running a little bit more smoothly. So I am aware that I've just been giving you a bit of a baptism of fire into Splunk. But I just wanted to hand over to you, Darren, now to really go through how this can actually aid in your procurement and obviously in your ease of deployment there. And really, why using Splunk Cloud or Splunk on AWS could be advantageous, especially now, to actually get you guys set up and running a lot quicker, or if you already are a customer, how that can transform you into a more kind of modern IT landscape there.
Thanks, Grace. Really interesting and deep overview there of as to how to use Splunk, but presented really simply. Really enjoyed that. Thank you. So, as Grace said, what I'm going to talk to you about today is procurement and deployment transformation through AWS Marketplace. I'm just going to take 10 minutes to kind of give you an overview as to what Somerford and AWS Marketplace can do together. So, as a whistle-stop tool, what you're looking at here is kind of our view of what an existing software estate would be in your organizations we'd like to see. So on the left hand side, this is by our view of what we think your software world looks like. Lots of numbers in there. We would typically say that your organizations are full of lots of commercial off-the-shelf software. That's COTS, that's the acronym in the middle. Lots of in-house developed applications. As we get to this potentially more agile state and this more innovative world of cloud providers like AWS, the state on the right-hand side is very much the utopia as to where organizations would like to be, we think, to try and get more agility into their organizations. So again, a little bit of analysis as to kind of our view of the world and how we can work with you as customers and the likes of Somerford as one of our key consulting partners. We're not about transacting what we call software from the big five, so Microsoft, Oracle, SAP, etc. That's about half of the $570 billion IT market. That's not transacting those through AWS Marketplace. You're already going to have some kind of buying agreement with Somerford, for example. We are absolutely about what we see as the 50 critical vendors underneath that. Now, that's not a fixed 50. That's not a fixed amount of vendors or a fixed set. That's your 50 critical vendors to your business. And if you sit down and actually analyze what is critical to your business operations, you're probably going to find there are 30 to 50 vendors that fit within that category. And you should absolutely be able to transact those and use AWS Marketplace and Somerford as a single pane of glass to manage that world. And obviously Splunk is for many customers going to be emerging or coming up into that top 50 if they're not there already. We're absolutely also about what we see of this long tail of search and selection of vendors underneath that critical 50 to your business. And this, might not be a particularly exciting subject, but or at least I think this is about changing the way we work within within our businesses. As there is increasing pressure to introduce agility and innovation, and you as customers start to want to consume the software in the same way that you're consuming services from cloud providers like ourselves, which is in an elastic kind of way. Old world, in inverted commas, procurement systems may not necessarily be keeping up with the way you as a business wants to consume this world. So the world of procurement, the world of software procurement is really changing and changing quite quickly to adapt to this new way of working, for finding solutions, trying them, moving on quickly if you need to. But certainly agility and elasticity are key words that need to be introduced into that procurement flow. So what is AWS Marketplace? We have about 7,000 listings in this curated catalog of software. Obviously, Splunk is one of those very key vendors, from about 1,500 ISVs in total. That's independent software vendors. And this is about migrating, modernizing, and managing your workloads in the cloud and getting access to solutions like Splunk from Somerford super quickly and getting them invested in your business super quickly. So you've seen some of the agility that Grace presented in the actual Splunk solution. What we're trying to do is draw that back a bit and help you get access to this, or at least try this, then get access to, then be able to deploy and manage that enterprise license agreement really quickly, using this digital marketplace world, and yet still getting the value from Somerford that you get today. So there's lots of benefits to the catalog. We don't have a great deal of time to go through these in a huge amount of detail today, but bear in mind, Marketplace is not just about paid offerings. This is about free and bring your own license offerings as well. So here we're talking about the deployment transformation, for example. So if you are deploying an operating system within your AWS environment, you can do that through AWS Marketplace at no cost. A good portion of what you see in Marketplace today is actually free. If you're looking at some form of cloud migration, you're migrating a workload from existing on-premise world, and the vendor allows you to have some license portability, we in many cases will allow bring your own license. So you've already procured that license, you're only getting the deployment transformation through Marketplace, but you still have a curated image of software that you're able to deploy in your AWS world, if that's an Amazon machine image, for example. And thereafter, a number of different consumption offerings that play to this agile world of software delivery that I was talking about a moment ago. So whether you choose to consume in an hourly or a monthly model, or as I'm about to talk to you about, private offers, that's allowing our consulting partner community, our key consulting partners like Somerford, to be able to deliver enterprise software software subscriptions with custom terms and custom end user license agreements, but still at a very competitive price through this portal that I'm about to show you in a moment. And underneath there, you can see a multitude of deployment options. Bear in mind, this is a moving world. Splunk are very much at the head of this, in deploying not only premise solutions, but migrating lots of their worlds to SaaS. Lots of vendors that we see are, either moving from a premise vendor to a software vendor, and then a software vendor to a SaaS vendor. And that's because of this world of elasticity that we're trying to drive towards. And you as customers, want to receive that innovation and scale, through subscribing to things in a really super agile way. Now, it's worth noting that lots of up-and-coming vendors don't want to build an elastic metering and billing solution to support that SaaS world. Well, that's what AWS Marketplace does. AWS Marketplace is absolutely the bridge between those vendors, you, the customer, and our partner community to deploy in this really super agile way. So it's just going to show you, haven't got time for a sort of a full demo and for me to dig in and show you specifically what this looks like. But if you haven't seen AWS Marketplace, I'd encourage you to go and have a look. It's aws.amazon.com/marketplace. I'm showing you here a listing for Splunk Cloud with encryption for data at rest. I'm just going to simply show you 2 pages. You're going to log on here with an AWS account. That can be a credit card and then migrate it to a credit account if you choose to, really simply. You're going to go and look at the software. You've chosen to select this. There's some pricing listed on here, and that button at the top there is continue to subscribe. Now, this is just a list price catalog. This is a catalog that's there for simple consumption of those find, try, test, deploy type scenarios. When we get to enterprise subscriptions, that's absolutely where Somerford can help you today. So this is our partner program. It's what we call Consulting Partner Private Offers, or CPPO, because we all need more acronyms, don't we? This allows Somerford to be the seller of record for the Splunk solution that you'd like to go and buy. Now, you might choose to go and test something in the open catalog. Once that becomes something that's a bit more seeded in your business, I'd encourage you to go back to Somerford to talk to them about an enterprise subscription using CPPO in Marketplace. And this is using all these benefits of the platform to allow you to get access to the software really quickly, help you have really clear visibility of the end user license agreement, with AWS managing the billing, and you receiving, as I say, the software really quickly, have a single pane of glass to manage the solution, and still using Somerford as that trusted advisor, professional services deliverer, and getting access to the skills of people like Grace, as you've heard from today. So there's lots of tools within the platform. We won't go into them all today, but bear in mind there's lots of value in here for the ISV, the independent software vendor, and the customer. So the ISV on the left-hand side is getting this real reduced time to market. They're able to publish software listings within the marketplace really quickly. They're able to manage their flow of finances super efficiently. You, the customer, are able to scale up, scale down, add some elasticity to the workloads and that you're deploying. One button push to effectively deploy the software, but still using the mechanism at the bottom here, consulting partner private offers through Somerford, to allow them to manage that pricing negotiation for you, to help build the end user license agreement. So it's a private offer from Somerford is the mechanism you should be heading towards. And this is giving you that software procurement transformation to hopefully enable you to be more competitive in your marketplace. This is about driving down the cost of ownership. So we're giving you access to these elastic solutions like Splunk Cloud in a super efficient way and giving you super quick time to market. So tens, hundreds, or multiple thousands of dollars worth of transaction can literally be subscribed to in a matter of minutes. I don't want that to be frightening, and I encourage you to go and have a look. Come and speak to your Somerford account manager or the team at AWS Marketplace to see how this works. But super quick, super agile. Let's reduce some of the friction from your software procurement process. To help you add more value to the business. For those of you that are familiar with AWS, we have a private pricing agreement structure called EDP, Enterprise Discount Program. If you're not familiar with it, don't worry. If you're an AWS customer and you have an EDP, which is a committed spend for AWS native services, bear in mind that purchases through AWS Marketplace and Somerford actually retire that commitment. So that's not giving you any deeper discount on your Splunk spend, but it is allowing you to get access to your AWS discounts much quicker, and that retires that at a rate of 50%. So a $50,000 Splunk transaction will reduce your spend commitment for AWS by $25,000, and that can become significant quite quickly. Just to highlight another couple of benefits of the tool, really, this is about reducing procurement friction, as I've been saying, and it's there's a number of tools within the platform that will help you do that. I won't go through all of these today because this is about an hour-long presentation, but just as a whistle stop, some things that you might want to start looking at. We have a tool called Enterprise Contract, which is a consolidated set of terms from ISVs. And once you've signed up to that, there's no commitment to that. You are then able to, you won't have to go and renegotiate a EULA, an end user license agreement, every time you want to go and choose to subscribe to an ISV that's within that same group. And that's now getting into that's 100 plus ISVs today. So go through the legal wranglings once of agreeing an end user license agreement and then don't have to do it again. That's got to be attractive, surely. Marketplace, as I say, is an open, let's call it a list price catalog, which anybody can go and use within your organization. We actually have a tool for procurement called Private Marketplace, which will give you some simple governance and guardrails for managing spend or managing category. If you only want one department to deploy certain SIM tools or certain private offers from Somerford, for example, you can put those guardrails around the marketplace deployment. So as we get to this more agile world of the builders going out there and building and getting access to the tools that you need, your organizations can help, can be managing this world really simply and efficiently. And Somerford can help with all of these processes within AWS Marketplace. So lots to cover there in a very short space of time. More than happy to work with you and your teams and Somerford to help demonstrate some of these in a bit more detail if you'd like to hear more. But for now, that's it from me in AWS Marketplace. So thanks so much, Grace, for the opportunity to speak to your customers here.
No, thank you so much, Darren. We really appreciate you being here. So we just wanted to leave some time for any questions that you guys might have. It can be either about AWS, obviously Darren can take the lead there, or it could be about Splunk itself or about Splunk Cloud.
Can I maybe ask you a question then, Grace, if that's all right, if there aren't any immediately?
Of course you can, Darren, yes.
I guess useful. I mean, you showed the agility of the Splunk solution really well there, I think. When customers start, how long do you think it takes them before they see some real value from the kind of consoles and what you've shown today? How quickly is that time to value?
Yeah, I think it's always difficult when when we try and put a time on it, only because obviously it can depend a lot on, how fast the customer wants to get data in and things like that. But we have had customers who have literally, even before it's turned into a production implementation, when they've had a POC, instantly, like the same day it's been deployed, have noticed some security breaches. So there's one particular customer that I'm thinking of where within about an hour, they'd identified that there was an XC level account that had been left on the system, and he'd been signing into it.
Wow.
So
Wow.
they found, yes, some very strange activity going on there, and it looked like potentially, there was some information gathering going on, so to speak. So
Wow.
definitely can be as quick as, the same day. But I would say, realistically, most customers within the first week will start to get some value out of it. Definitely with, just your more standard monitoring pieces, CPU, memory, all that kind of good stuff.
Mm.
But those more specific security, fraud, or IoT alerts, those sometimes take a little bit to develop. But normally, at least within their first month, they're realizing some of those more, should I say, weird use cases or out of the normal realm use cases.
That's really interesting. Yeah.
I'm sure
Thanks,
with
Grace.
I'm sure with you guys, the deployment time is so quick. With AWS, it can be very fast, including, just for standard AWS instances. So when we're running Splunk on it as well, it just becomes a real kind of match made in heaven.
It does indeed. Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. The partnership is very strong without being too sycophantic about it. But yeah, you're absolutely right. It does work really well. So similarly, we've done back end of last year, we've done for some very large organizations, subscriptions in the genuinely multiple millions, where a customer's logged in and got access to the Splunk Cloud solution in a matter of 20 minutes. So yeah, and is able to realize some value really quickly. So yeah, you're right. It really does marry together really well.
That's it. We do actually have one question here, which is a great one, which is about, do we have any other events and workshops? So I'm just going to share my screen again, just because I've got our events page up from our website. So Somerford, we run a whole host of different events, workshops, and webinars for all of our partners, Splunk and AWS obviously included. If you are looking to get a little bit more information or maybe hands-on with Splunk, I would definitely recommend coming to one of our Splunk workshops. We have next one, 9th of September, for our intro. Or if you're looking for a specific use case such as audit or enterprise security or even ITSI, we have other ones for them actually running in August as well. But if you are looking at any of our other partners or vendors as well, we do have specific events and training webinars for them as well. So definitely take a look at somerfordassociates.com/events. Or if you just want to know, when something is, you can always email me. I'll pop my email address in the chat there so everybody can reach out. But definitely do take use of them. They can completely free of charge, completely complimentary, and hopefully we'll be able to, number one, show you a little bit more about Splunk or whatever it is that you're looking at, but also, allow you to ask any questions that you might have, or any, more specific questions about that vendor. So great question. Thank you so much. What about if I ask you a question, Darren? So my question is probably much more around in terms of the procurement side of things. So do you know what like the average kind of saving is in terms of, like procurement sign off? Because I don't personally end up working with procurement people often, and I think maybe that's a blessing in disguise. But it is often, sounding like it potentially may take a long time to get things through procurement just based on, the checklist that might be involved, or, the sign off and things like that.
Mm.
How does AWS, help us actually kind of navigate that a little bit differently?
Great question, Grace. Thank you. Yeah, I mean it's hard to put a number against it, but all I can say is that, as I went through, there's a number of tools that will make this process much more efficient. So we don't want to be slowing down, people getting access to IT solutions within a business. As you say, within AWS, the builders are out there building. You made a Blue Peter reference earlier. I'm old enough to be of a similar age to to hear of phrases like rogue IT, and I think we're away from things like rogue IT now. This is just lines of business delivering IT solutions for their for whatever their business requirement may be. So I think that's changing the landscape of how people procure. Centralized procurement is obviously really key, but I think maybe in some cases struggling to keep up. So it's a balance between allowing access to, the services and solutions that people need, but potentially in a governed way. And that's what this private marketplace tool is. That's a function of marketplace that I was talking about a moment ago. That ourselves and you guys can help customers talk through. So, a really waffly answer. It's hard to put a number against it. All I can say is that the customers that do start to take private offers through marketplace, 99% of those will come back to do transaction number two within a matter of a few weeks, because once you start doing it, it can visibly drive out some of the complexity of the procurement process. And then when we start to use some of the tools to help things go a bit faster still, like enterprise contract, those consolidated EULA terms, people really start to see the value. And that's when, as you've seen as Somerford, you've started to see customers come to you and say, well, here's my portfolio, help me manage this in an agile way. And you, the partner, and the digital marketplace in the middle, is this kind of transformation tool. Some real value in that. I think, there was a time ago when people maybe thought the digital marketplaces would replace partners. I'm really pleased to say that's absolutely not the case. If you look at people like IDC and Gartner, they'll tell you now this is absolutely about the digital marketplace helping with the speed and agility, and the partners like Somerford, you know, are really helping to be trusted advisor, ProServe deliverer, cost consolidator, all the good things that you do today, but with the speed and efficiency of the digital marketplace underneath. So, I think jointly we're leading the way, and certainly the analysts out there are now starting to prove that. So rather than giving a number, I'd say to your customers, come and try it. Come and ask you guys about, how you work with marketplace private offers, and let's test the process to see, how we can drive some efficiencies and work out what that return on investment is.
That's a great answer, and I think that probably plays really similarly into, like the Splunk Cloud piece, where if you are thinking about Splunk Cloud or anything like that, as POCs, as I mentioned earlier, can roll into production. Come and try that, or try spinning up the trial of Splunk through AWS Marketplace, and you will see very quickly the fast time to value there. So for your impatient people like me, it's great for people like us, who maybe don't want to get people signed up on your books, or deal with all of that, because potentially it may hinder you being able to buy the product that you want, when it's the best on the market, when potentially the seller doesn't meet some specific criteria that you have based on some principles that were laid out 20 years ago or something like that. Sometimes I can understand from customers' view it can be very frustrating.
Absolutely right.
Thank you to everybody that has joined there. Again, I will put my contact details in the chat box, so if you do want to reach out afterwards, please feel free. It's what I'm here for. And I'm sure if you have any AWS questions, Darren will be more than welcome, more than willing to help there. Come along to our other events. Try AWS Marketplace for yourself, or the AWS Direct sales there. If you are looking into getting more hands-on with Splunk or AWS, please come along to one of our workshops and webinars. And again, thank you just so much for joining us, and thank you for spending some of your Monday morning with us.
Absolute pleasure. Thanks for having me, Grace. Much appreciated.